Welcome to Veteach channel. So continuation to our discussion with respect to the individual behavior. So in the beginning we understood that there are two kind of characteristics which are going to influence the behavior of an individual. One is the inherited characteristics and second one is the learned characteristics. So there in the inherited characteristics, the characteristics which are possessed at the time of by the time of birth, at the time of born. So these are the inherited. The next one is the learned characteristics that will be going to develop through learning. So here we'll see what is a learning process. An individual reacts to any situation or responds to instructions in particular fashion. That fashion or style is caused due to learning. Learning brings relatively permanent change in human behavior that occurs as a result of experience. Learning is a lifelong process in which new behaviors are acquired. We cannot seek learning, but we can see changed behavior as a consequence of learning. So all these sentences, what it says is, so the learning is a process where you are going to learn certain behavior or certain principles or certain morals by observing the others, or because of the situation, or because of the environment in which you are living. They may force you to learn something on your own. So here this is a relatively permanent change in human behavior. So learning brings a permanent change in the human behavior. Learning is a lifelong process in which new behaviors are acquired. So here, like suppose driving a vehicle, it is a learning. So like suppose if you are practicing for learning how to drive a vehicle. So once you get acquainted with this particular new practice of learning or how to drive the vehicle, so that will be there, that particular skill will be there for you throughout your life. Then instant learning, and instant learning in the sense, like suppose you are walking on a street. So this particular diagram it shows, like suppose a dog, a street dog, it is barking and ready to attack you. Immediately you start running from that particular place. It is an instant learning where no one has taught you or explained you, but instantly such kind of behavior force you to go away from that particular situation where you are expecting something is going to happen if you stay there itself. So this is the instant learning. So this is about the learning. So here where there are various kinds of theories of learning, where one is the classical conditioning learning, second one is the operant conditioning learning, third one is the social learning, and fourth one is the reinforcement learning. There are four kinds of the learning theories. One is the classical conditioning, second one is the operant conditioning, third one is the social conditioning, and fourth one is the reinforcement. So first let us see one by one the classical conditioning. Classical conditioning, it says, it is the classical conditioning can be defined as a process in which a formerly neutral stimulus when paired with an unconditional stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus that elicits a conditioned response. Classical conditioning states that an event repeated several times results into desired response, like suppose. So classical conditioning in the sense, a repetitive nature of task. If you are doing, and first time you are doing the task without any kind of interruptions and getting 100% result. So as this is the task supposed to be repeated, so classical conditioning, what it says is, as you are well aware about the process and how to do the activity in that particular process, automatically, so that makes you be more perfect in getting the results. So this is the classical conditioning. So the next one is operant conditioning. Operant conditioning deals with response stimulus connection. So here what this is, so the operant conditioning is this is organized by B.F. Skinner, state that most human behavior operates based on the environment. Most human behavior operates based on the environment. Learning depends on what happens after the response, the consequences. The learning of voluntary behavior through the effects of pleasant and unpleasant responses. So let us see what are these operant conditioning. Human behavior operates based on the environment. Like suppose you want to share an information which is very important, and the person to whom you want to share, he is among the group members. So there immediately you are not going to convey that information with a louder voice. You wait for the time when the other person is going to be lonely or alone, then you are going to express and convey the information, or you may be passing near to him and saying in a very low note and informing him about that particular information. So these are kind of examples we can quote under the operant conditioning. So here if we can say the other operant conditioning theory is, so operant conditioning, positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement, it creates both positive and negative. Positive reinforcement is add or increase a pleasant stimulus. Behavior is strengthened. Example, giving a student a prize after he gets rank A in test examination. Means, so if you are giving a prize to the student who got the first mark, so it is going to create a kind of the pleasant moment to that particular student, and it gives a positive strength in him. Behavior is going to be strengthened. Whereas negative reinforcement is reduce or remove an unpleasant stimulus. Behavior is strengthened. Means, like suppose if you are not feeling well, so for this particular thing, somebody has advised you that as you are feeling headache, so please try to apply Zendu balm or some other kind of balm which help you to reduce your feel of headache. So immediately you will apply it and you will be under the impression that as the right set of application of medicine is given, so automatically you will be get rid of that particular pain. So this is a negative reinforcement, reduce or remove an unpleasant situation. So behavior is strengthened. So next, positive punishment, present or add an unpleasant stimulus. Behavior is weakened. Giving a student extra homework after she misbehaves in a class. So if a student is misbehaving or creating some kind of disturbance or unpleasant situation, immediately the teacher is giving a punishment to correct, to regulate the misbehaviveness of that particular student. So this is present or add an unpleasant situation. Behavior is weakened. So the student is ready to take up the homework, but behavior is weakened, whereas in the earlier example it is strengthened. Then negative punishment, reduce or remove a pleasant situation. Behavior is weakened. Taking away teen's computer after he misses curfew. Means the smartphone that is given for a student to attend the online classes. If you notice that he is misusing it and making calls to the others or chit-chatting with the other friends and is not attending to the class, online class, immediately you are going to take away that particular smartphone from him. So this is the negative punishment. So these are the operant conditionings. The third one is social learning. This is a behavioral approach. It deals with learning process based on direct observations and experience, achieved while interacting with the individuals. People observe, alter and even construct a particular environment to fit in the social behavior pattern. So social learning, it is how it is happening is, like suppose if we can observe, most of the times in NCC, National Cadet Corps training in the educational institutions. So the students are taken to some kind of places, maybe forest kind of environment or a kind of hilly region where there is no sophisticated facilities, and students are the NCC cadets are trained, where the commandant of that particular NCC, he is going to practice and make them to learn through these particular hard situations. So this is the social learning example. So from this we will move to the reinforcement, where reinforcement is the attempt to develop or strengthen desirable behavior. Reinforcement, as the word itself says, reinforcement, forcibly you are emphasizing the kind of change that you are making an attempt to develop or strengthen desirable behavior. There are two types of reinforcement organizational behavior, positive and negative. Positive reinforcement strengthens and enhances behavior by the presentation of positive reinforcers. There are primary reinforcers and secondary reinforcers. So let us see this reinforcement, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So already in the earlier operant conditioning we have seen the examples. The same it is applicable even here also in the reinforcement. Positive reinforcement, positive behavior followed by positive consequences. Like suppose a student who got the first mark, so you are praising him, rewarding him, recognizing him with a gift or something else. It is the positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement, positive behavior followed by removal of negative consequences. Manager stops nagging employee. Nagging employee in the sense, so if an employee is doing, he has improved his performance in the work culture or in the work environment. So there in the earlier times, so the manager every time used to follow him, used to nag him every time, cautioning him. So these particular things will be reduced. So means he will be going to work in a free environment where the supervisor or the other person has developed a positive feel that you have corrected your negative feelings and continuing with positive thoughts. Then punishment, the other kind of reinforcement, negative behavior followed by negative consequences. Manager demotes the employee. Manager demotes the employee. Negative behavior followed by negative consequences, and negative behavior followed by removal of possible consequences. Manager ignores the behavior. So though there is a kind of positive change, but manager is going to ignore, and through this he is going to punish you. So these are called as the reinforcements in the learning. So here we have seen the learning through the classical conditioning, operant conditioning, social learning, and reinforcement. So this is the end of the learning characteristics with respect to the individual behavior. Thank you.